Hello and welcome to another episode of Revisiting Old Games, where we play old games to see if they are still worth playing in our current generation of gaming. Some few weeks back, I talked about f.e.a.r. Part 1 and Part 2. Now it's time to talk about Part 3. I will be comparing this game to Part 1 and 2, so this video is going to be very long. I also noticed that this game has been getting a lot of hate, but is this game a complete trash, or are there good things about this game that makes it worth playing? Let's find out in this video. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things in this video, from the gameplay, settings menu, weapons and all. So this video is going to be very long. If you're watching on Instagram, you might want to move over to YouTube because Instagram does not support videos of over 15 minutes long. The link to my YouTube channel is in my Instagram bio. But before we dive deep into the discussion, let us know a few things about this game. This game was released June 2011. It is available on Windows, Xbox 360 and PS3. So if you are still playing games on your Xbox 360 or your PS3, you can still play this game. I played the PC version, so I will be talking about the PC version. This game was developed by Wargaming Chicago, Baltimore, which was formerly Day One Studios. This game was not developed by Monolith Productions. That's why this game feels very different. Like, this game actually feels very different from the previous ones. Now let us look at the ratings of this game. The reception. How well was this game received when it was released? Let us look at some of the review websites. IGN gave this game 8 out of 10. If we take a look at Metacritic, on the critic side, this game got 74%. Then if we look at the user score, this game has 5.9 out of 10. Common Sense Media gave this game 4 out of 5 stars. If we look at Steam, this game is mostly positive. GameSpot gave this game 7.5 out of 10. If we look at PC Gamer, this game got 75%. So I noticed that the review sites or the review websites gave this game a relatively high score. But I also noticed that this game has been receiving a lot of hate. A lot of people don't like this game. I don't think this is the worst thing man has ever made. There are some parts of this game that is bad, but I also think there are some parts of this game that is also very good. Personally, I think the game is not all bad, it is not all good. The game is just there, it's just average. To me, the game is average, but does not mean the game is a terrible game. Does not mean this is the worst thing ever made. Because as far as I'm concerned, no matter how bad the game is, there's always going to be something good about the game. But you know, sometimes there are some games that are just irredeemably bad. Well, let us continue. I'm going to talk more about this later on in the video. So what about the game requirements? This is the PC requirements according to Steam. I believe modern hardware or modern PCs can run this game just fine even without graphics card. I tested this game with computers using just integrated graphics and it ran perfectly fine. So even if you don't have a graphics card, you can run this game on the maximum settings. So this is my hardware. I use Acer Predator Helios 300, Core i7 10th Gen Intel CPU, NVIDIA RTX 2060 with 6 gigs of VRAM and 32 gigs of RAM. Now, let's dive deep into the discussion. The f.e.a.r. franchise suffers heavily from sequelitis. So, what is this sequelitis that I'm talking about? Basic definition of sequelitis according to Google: the tendency of a well-received work to spawn many inferior sequels. You remember in my part 2 video, I said part 2 on its own is a good game, but compared to part 1, part 1 feels better than part 2. Part 1 got a lot of things right, but part 2 was not really that good compared to part 1, but part 2 on its own is a good game. Then when we take a look at part 3 also improved on some things, but still missed a lot of things. When I played part 1, there was the tension, there was the sound design, there was the horror element. Like, it felt perfect, it felt balanced. But part 3, I don't know. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with this game. I want to love the game, but I also hate some parts of the game. Well, no matter how bad a movie is or no matter how bad a video game is, I always try to find something good about that piece of media. So that's what I'm trying to do with this game. I think this game has a lot of redeeming features. One thing I know that this game messed up in is the story. The story of this game is a mess. In fact, if you are playing this game, you can comfortably skip the cutscenes because to me, this game does not have story. The story is just very terrible. That's just me personally. Other people might not mind the story of this game, but to me, the story of this game is a mess. In fact, I believe this game is more of combat and slow motion showcase than even the stories. It seems like when they were developing this game, after they finished developing this game, they were like, wait, we have not added story to this game. Let's just add story so that the game will feel complete. That's what I feel like. But I love some other aspect of the game. If we're talking of the combat, the gameplay, this game has good combat, which I will talk about later in the video. So like I said, no matter how bad people say this game is, I like to find the good in the game. This is like trying to find sweet corn in a pile of shit. So there are people that will see this game as a pile of shit, and there are people that will see this game as a pile of chocolate. Depends on who is looking. If you see this game as a pile of shit, then let's dive deep and look for sweet corn. Maybe we might find sweet corn in this pile of shit. But if you see this game as a chocolate bar, then let's dive deep and look for peanuts in the chocolate bar. So if this game is a pile of shit to you, you have every right to hate the game. If you see this game as a big chocolate bar, a big candy bar, then you have every right to love the game. One thing I want to say is, it is okay for you to love or hate this game. That is your personal preference and your own personal opinion. Because I like this game or I like any other game does not mean you have to like it, or because I hate this game or I hate any other game does not mean you should hate it. No matter how bad or how good a game is, it will always have fan base and it will always have haters. That is just how it is. So if you hate the game, that is fine. If you like the game, also fine. It is allowed. After all, that's what makes life interesting. Preferences. After getting that out of the way, how scary is this game? In part 2, I asked the same question. How scary is this game? And compared to part 1, part 2 was more of an action game, but it had some creepy and scary elements or scenes or stuff like that. There were some parts of that game that were genuinely scary. To me, for other people, it might not be scary, but to me, some things in that game were actually scary. But if we look at part 3, there is absolutely nothing scary about f.e.a.r 3. This is just an action game. At least f.e.a.r part 2 had some scary scenes. f.e.a.r 2 even tried to be scary, like it was even attempting to be scary. This game is not scary at all. f.e.a.r 3 is not scary at all. This game did not even try to be scary. Nothing. There is nothing scary about this game. This game is absolutely not scary. This is just an action game. Fear is relative. When I mean fear, I'm not talking about fear the game. I mean fear in general. What is scary to some people is entertainment to others. To me, f.e.a.r part 3 is not scary, but it might be scary to other people. To me, it's just but some people, this might be the most scariest game they've ever played. So because I say the game is not scary at all, I'm not saying generally. It is not scary to me. So maybe to you it is scary, but to me it is not. If the game is scary to you, then maybe the game has fulfilled the role of being a proper horror game. But I'm just talking about the game from my own experience. The game did not scare me. All I see is just annoyances rather than jump scares or what the game will consider horror. There's nothing scary about this game. Hallucinations are incredibly bad. No jump scares whatsoever. This game doesn't even try at all. Like, it doesn't even try. Or do we want to talk about the hallucinations compared to part 1? Let us take a look at some of the hallucinations in part 1 and then we'll compare it to part 3. Take a look at some of these hallucinations from part 1. Now, take a look at the hallucinations from part 3. Just look at how bland and boring they are.
You will not find her. I will not have it. Go back now. I was to leave a legacy of gods. Instead, it will be a legacy of monsters. Go away.
Now let's compare the two. If we compare the two, you see how boring and dead part 3's hallucination looks like. Part 1 had a lot of activities going on, a lot of weird things happening in the hallucinations and in the background of the game. But part 3 just feels The game just feels tired when it comes to the horror part of it. When it comes to the combat, yes, they improved the combat, but when it comes to the horror, it was like the more they release more games, the more they reduce and kill the horror part of this game, which is very sad. I'm expecting if I'm playing a horror game, I should be scared shitless. But this game does not have any horror at all. Now, moving away from the hallucinations, what about some other scary or creepy things in the game? Take a look at f.e.a.r. part 1, when those things were coming out of that portal to attack me. Now, that was some genuinely scary part of that game. After taking a look at what we saw in part 1, compare it to whatever the hell this thing is.
You appear to have poked the ant-hill with a stick.
This very annoying dog looking demon thing. Like, I hate fighting these guys. I hate fighting these demon things. I just hate fighting them. This is one of the most annoying set of bad guys I've ever had to fight in a video game. I just hate fighting this thing. Then apart from these demons appearing from portal, these dog looking weird things, we have the cultists. Then I'm wondering, are the cultists supposed to add to the overall horror or scariness of this game? Are they supposed to be scary? Are these cultists supposed to be scary? Because they sound like they are constipated or they are high on crack or something. If you play the game, you understand why the cultists are running mad and behaving how they are behaving. But the way they sound, just listen to the way they sound. the way they say like what the hell is that? And then when you kill them, when you kill some of them, they'll be like, sounds like premature orgasm. Are those guys supposed to be scary? I don't know. So f.e.a.r. Part 3 is just an action game with absolutely nothing scary about it. Well, that is my own opinion. My younger brother said he played the game and the game was scary to him. But to me, there is absolutely nothing scary about Part 3. So maybe this game scares some people, but so let's move on. Let's talk about the game mechanics or gameplay or whatever. f.e.a.r. 3 may not be a scary game whatsoever, but at least this game has some good action. Like, the combat system of this game is incredible. I love the combat system. I love the combat of this game. Some people may not like it, but I enjoy the combat of this game. A lot have changed compared to Part 1 and Part 2. In Part 1 and 2, you don't auto-recover or auto-heal when you take damage. You must use med kits or first aid kits or first aid box or whatever it is. But in f.e.a.r. Part 3, you auto-recover when you take damages like Call of Duty. This game is not an RPG, but this game has some RPG elements. You get XP points as you play the game. The XP points levels up your character. When you press the menu button on the controller, or when you press a key on your keyboard, I think it should be tab or so, tab on your keyboard or whatever key you set on your keyboard, you see a list of challenges to complete to get XP points. As you complete those challenges, you get XP points. While you get those XP points, you level up your character. You also get XP points by doing something called psychic link. I don't know what the hell psychic link is. To do the psychic link, you have to find some cups that are emitting smoke or that are looking smoky. You know, they are so smoky. You go near them and you do the psychic link. You do the psychic link thing. I don't know what the hell psychic link is. So when you do the psychic link, you get XP points. Those XP points level up your character. As you level up, you permanently upgrade or increase your reflex bar. You permanently increase your health. You recover from damages quicker and faster. You carry more ammo for your weapons. But the thing is, you don't choose what to upgrade. The game does it for you automatically. Sometimes it will just tell you you can carry more grenades. Sometimes it will tell you you have more clips in your ammo. Sometimes it will say slow-mo increased. So you don't choose what to upgrade. You know, unlike games like Horizon or God of War, where you choose exactly what you want to upgrade. For instance, Horizon, you can choose to upgrade this skill, you know, upgrade your stealth and stuff like that. This game is not like that. While you level up, it automatically just upgrades something for you randomly. The maximum level of your character is level 21. And in order for me to get to my maximum level, I had to play the game 3 times. What about the combat? If we're talking of combat, you can play either as Pointman or Fettel. Each character you play as have their own unique ability and gameplay, which is quite impressive. In summary, Pointman has the ability to slow down time. If you play as Fettel, Fettel has the ability to possess people and use their bodies to kill other people. But one thing I noticed with the gameplay is that if you play as Pointman and you level up Pointman to the maximum, which is level 21, if you go back and play as Fettel from the beginning of the game, Fettel will already be in level 21, which to me does not make sense. I think if I play as Pointman and I level up Pointman to level 21, when I go to play as Fettel, let me start from level 1 and then let me work my way up to level 21. Why should I play as Fettel and then I go and play as Pointman and then they are both leveled up? Doesn't make sense to me. You see, Pointman has his own unique gameplay. Fettel has his own gameplay, which makes the game kind of fresh. I don't know if the pronunciation is Fettel or Fettel or Fettel, whatever. So now let us talk about playing the game as Pointman and Fettel. Let's start with Pointman. If you play as Pointman, Pointman gives you the ability to slow down time, just like I said earlier in the video. Also, you can pick up enemy weapons and you can pilot power armor, also known as mech. And they added some new features, that is, you can now take cover and you can slide kick. Well, when you play as Pointman and you slow down time, I keep saying this thing, just like I said in my part 1 video and my part 2 video, I absolutely love using the slow-mo mechanic. Like, this thing is impressive, it's amazing. Max Payne has it, f.e.a.r. franchise has it. Look at how cool it is to use bullet time or slow-mo or reflex. When you slow down time, you know, you slow down time and then you fuck your enemies up. So playing as Pointman basically is just similar to part 1 and part 2. Same thing. Slow down time, fuck your enemies up. Slow down time, shoot your enemies. Upgrade your reflex bar, slow down time, stuff like that. You see, in part 1 and 2, you have to take something called reflex injector that permanently increase your reflex bar. But in this one, you don't need to take anything like reflex injector. Just be getting XP points, complete those challenges, play the game, do psychic link, and level up, and then your reflex bar will keep increasing by itself. Now let us talk about Fettel. Unlike Pointman that slows down time, Fettel does not slow down time. Is it Fettel? Fettel. Ah, good lord. I'm going to have a lot of issues calling this guy's name for the rest of this video. Fettel does not slow down time. Instead, he possesses people and uses their bodies to fight. Fettel does not carry any weapon. He shoots blasts from his hands. Is Fettel weaker because he doesn't use weapons like Pointman? Nope, that is not the case. Fettel's blasts are so powerful, they are so strong that they can destroy a power armor or even helicopters, which is pretty impressive. You can possess people and use their bodies and their weapons to fight. You can use their bodies and their weapons. You destroy their bodies when you are done with their bodies. Very sick, but actually very impressive. Very impressive. You see, when you play as Pointman and you slow down time, it drains your reflex bar. But when you play as Fettel and you possess people, the possession is not permanent. When you possess someone, it drains your reflex bar. If the reflex bar is depleted, the person's body will die. But you can extend the possession by killing enemies, because when they die, when you kill those enemies and they die, they drop this red weird looking thing. When you take those red weird things, it replenishes your reflex bar a bit. So if you're in a place full of a lot of enemies, you can keep extending your possession time, and you can keep using the person that you have possessed even longer. But if you drain your reflex bar, the person's body will explode. Also, during combat, what happens if the person you are using gets killed? Not by you, but by the enemies around you. That person's body will just die, but then you have second chance. You can continue playing as Fettel. You can only possess when your reflex bar reaches about 50% and above. So you have to run around shooting people, blast from his hand, suspend them in mid-air and blast them, blast away. When your reflex bar hits 50% and above, then you can possess somebody again, which is impressive. So I like Fettel's gameplay. Something that I found that was also impressive while playing as Fettel is that you can pilot a power armor. How you do it is that you possess one of those generic bad guys, the ones that shoots guns, not those cultists, not those rah cultists. No, you possess one of those generic amalgam grunts, those generic bad guys. So when you possess one of them, you use their bodies or use their body to pilot a mech. Man, look, just look at the way I'm saying use their bodies. That's very weird and very sinister. Whatever. So you pilot a mech with your body, but don't worry, when you pilot a mech with a possessed person, it does not drain your reflex. It does not drain your reflex. So you can pilot the mech as long as you want. Another thing that impressed me while playing as Fettel is that you can possess anybody in the game, whoever the person is. Those cultists, you can possess those cultists. There is a set of those cultists that run around with explosives strapped to their chest. You can actually possess them and detonate that body. You can possess those cultists that throw knives. There is a set of cultists that throw knives. You can also possess those cultists that move around with those axes and whatever those things are. But when you possess those cultists, I noticed that you can't pick the weapons of those generic bad guys, those amalgam guys, those ones that use guns and stuff. You can't pick their weapons. You can only pick the weapons that the cultists use, and vice versa. When you possess those generic bad guys, those amalgam grunts, you can't pick the cultists' weapons. So there you have it. I also noticed that this game has mini boss fights. You fight against some bad guys called phase casters, and phase commanders.
You are inferior.
When you play as Fettel, you can possess any of them, which is very, very impressive. Nice.
Oh, nice.
How you possess them is easy. You suspend them in mid-air and then you blast and blast and blast away. When you've almost killed those phase casters or phase commanders, then you will see a prompt to possess their body. Just possess their body. Then you use them to fuck up the enemies around you. That is very impressive. But I noticed something. If you possess the phase casters, you're all good. You can pilot a power armor if you possess a phase caster. But if you possess a phase commander, those very big ones, I cannot pass through doors and I don't know how to walk through walls. Does anybody know how to do it? Because I tried, I just could not do it. I spent most of my time playing as Pointman. I think throughout all my adventures in this game, I did not really dive deep into Fettel's gameplay. I am regretting it because playing as Fettel is quite cool. This dude has a very good advantage when it comes to combat. If you play as Pointman, it can be difficult or challenging fighting against those mini bosses, that is those phase casters and phase commanders. But if you play as Fettel, all you have to do is just suspend them in mid-air and then you blast the shit out of them. So even if you don't want to possess their body, once you suspend them in mid-air, that is all. You can fuck them up. But I also noticed that playing as Fettel has its own disadvantages. His blasters can take down helicopters and power armor. But you remember when I said those dog-looking demon things are the most annoying set of bad guys I've ever fought in a game? There is a part where you have to open a door, and then the door takes its time to open. You know, the door is so slow to open and it makes that sound while it is opening, and then those demon dogs start to come out from the wall. I hate that part of that stage. I hate that part, and then I have to blast those dogs. Good lord, that part is very annoying, especially when you play as Fettel. That part gave me tough time. Maybe other people did not have issues playing that part, but man, that part really kicked my ass. Fettel has his own advantages and disadvantages, just like Pointman has his own advantages and disadvantages. But I like the way the game did it. You play as Pointman, he has his own, you slow down time. You play as Fettel, he doesn't slow down time, but he can possess people and he suspend people in mid-air, which is quite impressive. Then something else I want to add is that if you play as Pointman, the game has different ending for Pointman and it has a different ending for Fettel. So whichever you play as, the ending is different. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm not going to put the ending obviously because I don't want to spoil the story for you. Now let's talk about weapons in f.e.a.r. Part 3. In f.e.a.r. Part 1, you carry only 3 weapons. f.e.a.r. Part 2, you carry 4 weapons. But in f.e.a.r. Part 3, you carry only 2. Just 2. Why? And I also noticed something in this game. In f.e.a.r. Part 1 and 2, you carry over your current weapons to the next mission. So if you have 1 SMG, 1 assault rifle, 1 hammerhead, and 1 rocket launcher, you can actually use that set of weapons from beginning to the end of that game. You carry those 4 weapons with you wherever you go. That is if I'm talking of part 2. In part 1, if you have a pistol, if you have assault rifle, and you have hammerhead, you will carry that weapon to mission 3, mission 4, mission 5. You carry over your weapons. But in f.e.a.r. Part 3, you do not carry over your weapons. You start every mission either with a pistol or a knife, and then you must find other weapons. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing for people, but that's just it. Call of Duty is like that. You don't carry your weapons over and stuff. So I'm just putting it out there. So how good or how bad are the weapons in f.e.a.r. Part 3? Compared to part 1 and 2? Are the weapons better in part 3? Did they improve on the weapons or are they trash? Did they add? Did they subtract? Did they remove? Did they increase? Did they decrease? Whatever. So now let us take a look at the list of weapons and how good they are. First, let's start with the melee or the knife. The melee weapon or the knife. When you start this game, you start with only the knife. Well, the melee is basically close range combat. I don't think I need to explain melee weapons to people. I use melee when I want to kill enemies that are not worthy to die by the bullets of my guns. For example, those cultists. Shooting them to me is waste of bullets because they don't drop any ammo when they die. They don't drop any guns, nothing. They are just there to suck the bullet out of your gun. So to me, it is better to just melee my way through them. Strider MK7 aka pistol. The pistol in f.e.a.r 3 feels just like the pistol in f.e.a.r 2. This is a sidearm. Remember in Call of Duty when they told us that it is faster to switch to your sidearm than to reload?
Remember, switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading.
Well, fuck that. I don't use this pistol that much. In fact, I drop this pistol very fast. The pistol is not a bad weapon per se. It is good for very close range combat. The pistol has 12 rounds and ammo is easy to find for this weapon. The Briggs SMG, which is the SMG, the submachine gun. This gun features a 35 round magazine and it is good enough for common enemies, those generic enemies. I won't use the SMG to fight enemies like phase commanders and phase casters. It will kill them, but you will fight your ass off like you are going to shoot and shoot and shoot. It is not as weak as the pistol, but surprisingly, I find myself using the SMG more than I thought I would. I actually use this gun a lot. Like, I actually use the gun a lot, but the gun is not actually a bad gun per se. It is a good gun, but it does good damage for close range. I even noticed that even like mid-range combat, it actually does reasonable damage. Ammo for this gun is incredibly easy to find.
It's him! I'm out! Cover me!
G3A3 assault rifle. This weapon has a 24 round magazine and fires 3 round bursts. This assault rifle is surprisingly very good. This weapon can pop enemies' head off. Like, if you shoot their head, it just takes their head off, which is quite impressive. I don't know why I'm saying that shooting people's head off is impressive, but whatever. Something like this was in f.e.a.r Part 1, but I think the name of the gun was different. I use this weapon to fight everything, from those armor camp grunts to phase commanders to phase casters. This gun is the most universal gun in this game. You can use this gun to fight anything. Ammo for this gun is relatively easy to find because this gun is quite common. Not as common as the SMG, but this gun is common. So this gun has good damage and good accuracy. I quite enjoy using this gun. And like I said, for some weird reason, if you shoot their head, it takes out their head. Next, we have the dual MP 970s. This is basically pistol on steroids. This weapon has 35 rounds per clip and has high rate of fire. This weapon is best for fighting those cultists because its damage is damn low. If I don't want to use my assault rifle or if I don't want to use my SMG, using this gun is perfectly fine for shooting those cultists that have explosives strapped to their chest. But sometimes when I feel like wasting time, I use them to fight those phase commanders. It takes longer time to kill the phase commanders using this weapon, but I like the way the gun sounds and I like the way the guns are.
Command copies all.
Watch behind you. They're all around us.
the EL10CAS, which is basically the shotgun. You remember in f.e.a.r. Part 2, there was the combat shotgun and the automatic shotgun. In f.e.a.r. Part 3, this is similar to the automatic shotgun in f.e.a.r. Part 2. In fact, let's just call it automatic shotgun with 12-round magazine. The shotgun in this game is a disappointment compared to Part 1 and 2. The gun packs a good punch, but this gun feels nerfed. It does not feel as strong as the shotgun in Part 1 and 2. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like this gun is not that strong. It does not feel as strong as the shotgun in Part 2, especially comparing it to the combat shotgun in Part 2. I don't know, this gun does not feel right. It feels weaker than Part 2 and even far weaker than the shotgun in Part 1. That's my own opinion anyway. Maybe other people's experience with this gun is different, but I feel like this gun is not as powerful as the shotgun in Part 1 and 2. Finding ammo for this gun is quite easy because the gun is a very common gun. SHV penetrator, or what I call the nail gun. In my opinion, this is the strongest weapon in this game besides the missile launcher. You get this gun the first time you kill a phase commander. This weapon has a magazine of 18 rounds. This weapon fires projectile like a giant nail or something. Finding ammo for this gun is not that difficult, surprisingly. This gun was in Part 1 and Part 2, but with different designs. The gun feels as good as, if not better than, the penetrator in Part 1. The penetrator in Part 2, wow, the way I'm saying penetrator. The penetrator in Part 2 feels nerfed, and that one feels like it has terrible recoil. Like if you are shooting the penetrator in that one, the gun just moves all over the place. But this penetrator in why do I keep saying the nail gun in this one feels balanced. It feels perfect. It feels strong. I like the nail gun in this one. This gun is good for fighting phase commanders and phase casters. If you use this gun to fight phase commanders or even the phase casters, you will take them down in no time. This gun is very, very powerful. I think, like I said, this gun is the most powerful weapon in this game besides the rocket launcher. Now let's move over to the missile launcher. The name of the missile launcher is Goliath. This weapon fires missiles, hence the name missile launcher. This missile launcher fires one missile at a time, like the missile launcher in Part 2. You see, the missile launcher in Part 1 fires 3 missiles, missile launcher in Part 2 fires only 1, and then missile launcher in Part 3 fires only 1. This weapon is excellent for fighting power armor, but you don't see this weapon that often. This is a very scarce weapon in this game. I used this weapon like twice in this game, like 2 or 3 times in this game. The first time was when I fought power armor for the first time. Then the second was when I fought against one helicopter. Okay, I think it's just twice, 2 times, Abby. I think I used this weapon like just twice in the whole time I played this game.
Negative. Eliminate the target.
Yes, sir.
Now let's talk about the arc beam or laser weapon. I have a love-hate relationship with this weapon. This weapon is like the laser weapon in Part 2, but this weapon does not feel as strong as the laser weapon in Part 2. Good thing about this weapon is that the beam reflects off some surfaces to hit multiple enemies at once, but the weapon feels weak I don't know, it just feels weak. If you're shooting an enemy directly, it takes longer to burn them compared to the laser weapon in part 2. Is it just me that is seeing it like that? But this weapon just feels like it is weaker than the laser weapon in part 2. This weapon uses energy meter and not magazines. Surprisingly, this weapon is not that hard to find, surprisingly. But I think the first time you get this weapon is when you fight a face caster for the first... No, not the first time. There's I think it is towards middle of the game where you find this weapon for the first time, and then going forward you keep finding the weapon. This arc beam, or whatever this thing is, this arc beam is in one of the power armor, which I will get to later on in the video. Next we have the riot gear. This is basically shields with SMG, or another way of calling it is, this is SMG on steroids. You use a riot shield and a Briggs SMG. This weapon is perfect for fighting against face casters and face commanders because it protects you against most of their weapons. In fact, it protects you against all weapons. Shula LDR 50, which is basically the sniper rifle. This is a sniper rifle with a 5-round magazine, a very powerful weapon. Just like in f.e.a.r. Part 2, you mostly find this gun when you're about to fight other snipers. So ammo for this gun is hard to find, like ridiculously hard to find. Like I said, the gun is very powerful, and like the sniper rifle in Part 2, this is one shot, one kill. Ammo for this gun is hard to find.
There!
Rev 9 power armor. f.e.a.r. 2 introduced the ability to pilot a mech, or what the game calls power armor. In f.e.a.r. 3, you pilot two types of power armor. The Rev 9 power armor is the small power armor. Wow, the way I'm just saying power armor. The enhanced power armor is the big one. I'll talk about that one next. This power armor fires explosive shells and it has an arc beam attached to it. The power armor auto heals, or should I say auto repairs itself if you take damage. This power armor does not have a shield, but I noticed that since it is small, it moves faster than the big power armor. You know, you can maneuver quite easy. You know, it is very fast to move around with this one, but it does not have its own shield. It does not have rocket launchers to fire rockets, but at least those explosive rounds do significant damage, like they do heavy damage. Towards the end of the game, I used this Rev 9 power armor to fight the enhanced power armor, and I was able to take it down. So it's small and fast, but it's not as strong as the enhanced power armor. The enhanced power armor. This is the big power armor, or should I say the big mech. This is loaded with miniguns on each arm and a rocket launcher, or should I say rocket launchers. The power armor has a shield, but you must activate the shield manually compared to the power armor in Part 2 or the mech in Part 2. The one in Part 2 has automatic shield. You don't need to activate the shield. The shield is always active. It is when you take serious damage that they break the shield. But this one needs manual activation. If the shield is active, you cannot fire missiles. You can only shoot the miniguns. This power armor repairs itself if it has taken too much damage, but you have to unmount the power armor for some seconds before piloting it again. When I played this game for the first time, and even some of my earlier gameplays of this game, I used to abandon the power armor when it takes too much damage because it will automatically eject you. So I used to run and abandon it. I didn't know that if the power armor ejects you, all you have to do is just run around for a few seconds, go back and pilot it, and it will be back to 100%. If you take a lot of damage, don't abandon this power armor. Just unmount it, come back, pilot it again, and you see that it is back to 100%. Unlike the Rev 9 power armor, this one is big, so it is very slow. It is very slow, but you can stomp the ground with it. But there is a mission that I used this power armor, and I absolutely hate one part of that mission. That bridge where I have to fight those 2 helicopters. Next, we have the grenades. We have the frag grenade, we have the flashbang, and then the shock grenade. The shock grenade is my favorite. I use the frag grenade, I use the flashbang, but the shock grenade is my favorite. The shock grenade is perfect for fighting those power armor or even fighting those phase casters and phase commanders. You see, when you throw the shock grenade at them, it stuns them for some, should I say, seconds, and then while they are stunned, you can attack them all you want. Look at how good the shock grenade is. In fact, I think this is my favorite grenade. This is my favorite grenade in the game. So as you can see, this game has some good collection of weapons. They added new weapons and they took some away. Looking at the weapons collection in f.e.a.r Part 3, I like the penetrator or the nail gun. I also like the assault rifle, which is the most balanced weapon in the game. The penetrator is the most powerful. Rocket launcher is good, but I will not recommend you use the rocket launcher in close range combat. f.e.a.r Part 2 had the napalm cannon, but there is nothing like that in f.e.a.r Part 3. Shotgun was a disappointment. It feels nerfed. What else? SMG is alright, it's okay. I think it is similar to the performance of the SMG in Part 2. Sniper rifle is good. I like the sniper rifle. What else? Okay, power armor. The Rev 9 power armor and then the enhanced power armor. Good collection of weapons in this game. So tell me what you think in the comment section. Do you like the weapons collection in this game? Are they trash, or you enjoyed using the weapons in f.e.a.r Part 3? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now let's talk about the graphics and the visuals. f.e.a.r 3 is the best looking game in the whole franchise. If you are a regular on my channel, you know that I don't prioritize visuals or graphics when it comes to video games. There are a lot of other things I think are more important than visuals and graphics. But when I see a game with good graphics, I will commend the graphics. I will give credit where credit is due. The graphics of this game actually looks impressive, that is compared to Part 1 and 2. Compared to our modern generation of gaming, the graphics of this game is impressive, especially for a game that was released in 2011. The guns or the weapons have more details, the environment looks cleaner and better, then the blood, the game just feels, it looks good. I'm not going to deny the fact that the game looks good compared to the rest. Now let's talk about the settings menu. When you launch the game, this is what you see. Press any key to continue. So let us continue. We have campaign, multiplayer, scoring, options, credits, quit. This game has multiplayer, but when I play games, I usually focus more on the campaign. I barely play multiplayer. Maybe I'm one of those friendless people that would rather play games alone. So when we select campaign, we have single player, host network co-op, join network co-op. Let's go to single player. You see, I was already playing the game. My difficulty is set to commando, which is the medium difficulty. This game on medium difficulty is quite challenging. So if you are wondering about how the difficulty of this game is, commando is actually challenging. I would recommend playing this game on commando. Don't play this game on easy. Under campaign, we have resume game, new game, or you can do replay mission. If I say resume game and then I want to play as Pointman, like you can see, you can play as Pointman or Fettel. Pointman or Fettel. Okay, let us set it as Pointman. If I go to launch game, it will ask, are you sure you want to start a new game? All previously saved game progress will be lost. Nah, I don't want to start new game, so let's go back. Let us leave the lobby. If we look at multiplayer, we have solo practice, host network match, join network match, quick match. I don't really play multiplayer in all these games. Scoring, rank and challenge, performance. I don't even really check all these things. Let us look at options, because that's the meat of settings menu. The reason why I even started settings menu is so that we can look at options. Many of us, when we start a game for the first time or when we launch a game, we always want to see what we can change in the options menu. So when we go to options, we see control settings, audio settings, video settings, game settings. So let us go to controls. So key binding, aim assist. You can pause the video to take a look at these settings if you want. Key bindings. This is how I mapped my own keys. Look and move, combat, interaction, my settings for Fettel, vehicle, miscellaneous. Let's go back again. Let's go back to options, control settings. This game has controller support. So if we go to the controller support, there's the classic, southpaw, tactical, chief. Let's go back. I think, okay, yeah, there's assault. So this is classic. I'm using classic controller settings. Let's go back. Options again. Under options, let's go to audio settings. These are the audio settings. Feel free to pause the video if you want to spend more time looking at these settings. Let's go back. Options, video settings. So these are my settings for video. I'm using a laptop with graphics card, but if you are playing this game with a computer that don't have graphics card, you can still max out all these settings without problem and it will run just fine. I'm telling you, it will run perfectly fine. I've played this game even with laptops that are not even Pentium. It's just HP dual core or quad core CPU and it ran very well. Let's go back. Would you like to whatever, accept. Let's go to game settings. So difficulty set to commando, subtitles on and stuff like that. Low violence off. Who wants low violence in a horror game? Why should I be playing a horror game with low violence? Why should I be playing a horror game with limited blood? Show the blood, show the violence. Peace was never an option. So let's go back. Credits, and this is all we have for credits. And that's all. That is all for the settings menu. So is this game replayable? Yes. This game does not have new game plus. You can only replay the game by replaying missions you have already played. Even if you choose to replay the game all over, your character level remains the same. So if you've maxed out your character, if you're at level 21, I think I said this earlier in the video, maximum character level is 21. So if you've maxed out your character and you've upgraded your reflex and all that, if you choose to replay the game, all your upgrades and whatever is still going to remain. It will not erase all your upgrades. So even if you start a new game, your reflex bar will still be up, your armor will still be high capacity or whatever. You will recover faster and all. So let me show you how the game treats new game. Just like in settings menu, if you go to campaign single player, you can choose to do new game, and then if you select new game, you cannot select mission. But if you go to campaign, go to replay mission, then now you can now select the mission you want to replay. So You can do interval 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 intervals. So that is how you replay the game. You either go to campaign, do new game, and then you start all over, or you resume the game, or you just go and do replay missions, and then you can now select whichever mission you want to play. That's basically how you replay this game if you want to replay this game at all. There is no new game plus, so this is how you replay missions. Let's talk a little bit more about the difficulty. How difficult is this game? This game is not as difficult as Elden Ring, Sekiro, or Dark Souls that will absolutely whoop your ass. I believe playing this game on medium difficulty is the best. So how is this game compared to part 1 and 2 in terms of difficulty? Part 1's difficulty is similar to part 3. Part 1 is challenging but enjoyable. I enjoy the challenge. Part 2 is the easiest in the franchise. Like, part 2 is ridiculously easy. It is too goddamn easy. But part 3, yes, it is difficult but it is enjoyable. It is challenging. At least that's how I see the game. At one point I played this game so much that commando or normal difficulty started to feel easy. At least for me. I've beaten the game on the hard difficulty. It's challenging but it is doable. Damn, I've been talking so much about difficulty settings. Anyway, let's move on. So after talking about a lot of the serious parts of this game, I want to talk about some of the random things I found in the game. This game has controller support, but at first when I started using the controller, I was having issues. The controls were a mess. So I had to go to big menu mode on Steam to enable Xbox controller. So how I fixed it was I went to view, big picture mode, and then go to settings, you go to controller settings, and then you see you select Xbox configuration support and Xbox extended feature support. I had to make sure that these two were all enabled before the game could work properly with controller. If not, the thing was just all over the place. The direction stick will work, but I won't be able to look, I won't be able to move the character. Not like I don't know, the whole thing was just a mess. So this is how you fix the problem if you connect controller and you're having this issue. Something else I noticed again is that even though f.e.a.r. 3 supports controllers, the tutorial or button prompt still shows keyboard keys. For example, using the Xbox controller, you press Y on the controller to slow down time, but the game still prompts keyboard key control because I set control on my keyboard to slow down time. But even if I'm using the game controller, it will not show press Y to slow down time during the tutorials. It will see prompt press control. So it's as if the game just completely ignores the controller and it is only showing the keyboard keys. It is not showing any keys from the controller. It won't say press B to do this, press A to do this, press Y to do this. Nope. It is only showing the keyboard keys from your computer or whatever. It is not showing the controller keys at all. So I just say, let me just put that one out there. Then there is this part of this game that I have to open this door, and then the door takes its time to open, and then those demon dogs start to come out of the wall. And oh my god, I hate this stage. I hate this part of this mission. I like the stage, but I hate this part of the mission. I hate this part of the stage. I just, oh my god, no matter how many times I play this part of this mission always annoys me. That is my own experience anyway. So let's continue. I hate fighting those demon dogs. Very annoying. Very, very annoying. Something else I want to add is there is this demon that constantly follow me in the game. I don't know if that demon was supposed to be scary, but that thing did not scare me at all. But I hate it when that demon grabs me. Like, it's annoying. You know, as I'm playing, and then something to just come grab me and show me the mouth and do all those, and then it to drop me. Like, that part was annoying. Maybe it's a nitpick. Maybe it's just me just say something that does not really matter to some people, but me personally, that part was just annoying. It was always annoying when I'm playing the game and that thing comes and it grabs me and it just do this. It was annoying. Fettel, when I play as Fettel, when he possesses anybody, the way he laughs, I love the way he laughs.
Gotta go this way! Get back behind that car! Someone! Below us!
Then when it comes to bugs, I did not find any bugs in this game. No bugs whatsoever. Then something else I want to add in my random discussion is that bridge. There is a mission where I have to cross a bridge, and then one part of that mission I have to fight 2 helicopters using a power armor. No matter how many times I play this game, when I get to that place, that part always annoys me. I don't know why. I just don't like fighting those helicopters. In that part, it's like I don't know, man. This is just one of those games where you know this meme where you are excited that you want to replay your favorite game, and then you just remember that mission. This part right here is going to make my top 10 most annoying parts of games. Like, I just don't like fighting this. I don't like fighting those helicopters. It's just annoying. Maybe other people it might not be annoying, but to me, no matter how many times I play this game, this part constantly annoys me. So let's conclude this video. What do I like, what do I dislike, and how will I rate this game? Let's start with what I like. I like the good combat system. I like the shooting, the action. I like the good looking graphics. For an old game, this game looks quite good. I will give this game that. The graphics looks impressive for an old game, especially for a game that was released in 2011. And I like that we can play as 2 characters in the campaign. You can play as Fettel or you can play as Pointman. Then I will always like the reflex or the slow motion mechanic, ability to slow down time. It is impressive. I also enjoyed Fettel's gameplay. Is it Fettel or Fettel? Fettel. I enjoyed his gameplay, the ability to possess people and use their body to fight. Very impressive, and I like that you can possess anybody in the game. There is no limit to who you can possess. You can possess the face casters, you can possess the face commanders. I like that about the game. I like Fettel's gameplay. They did not make Fettel feel weak because he's not using like the weapons like Pointman and all. His blasts are very powerful, so quite impressive. So what don't I like about this game? What are my dislikes? First one is story is bad. I mean, the story is very, very bad. Characters were generic. There was nothing about those characters that made me care about them. I don't know. It was just This game is not a horror game at all. Hallucinations are bad. No jump scares. This game did not even try to be scary at all whatsoever. Maybe some people will say this game is scary, but to me, this is just an action game. There is nothing scary about this game. Then some of the weapons are not as good as the previous games. The shotgun to me is not as good as the previous game. It just feels nerfed. The arc beam weapon compared to the laser weapon in part 2, that arc beam does not feel strong. I don't know. Part 2's laser weapon feels stronger. Then if you look at part 1, that particle weapon, I think they replaced the particle weapon with the arc beam in this one. I feel like the particle weapon is stronger than this arc beam in part 2. Although the advantage of this weapon is that it can deflect off some surfaces and hit multiple enemies at the same time. So yeah, this game has some good and redeeming features. This game is not the worst thing man has ever made. I don't think this game is this terrible, useless, rubbish game. Even though it is the most hated game in the franchise, I noticed that this game is the most hated game in the franchise. A lot of people don't like the game, but I quite enjoyed the gameplay and the combat. If I were to rate this game, I'm not going to use the 1 to 10 rating system again. I'm going to use the 0 to 100% rating system. So it is 0 to 100 oxide or oxide points. So measuring this game with the oxide meter, I think this game is 70% oxide. Would have gone lower, but I think 70% is okay for this game. Compared to the rating I gave f.e.a.r. Part 2, f.e.a.r. Part 2 got 7.5 out of 10, which is equivalent to 75%. But this one, I'm giving this game 70% because I feel like 70% is okay for this game. Maybe 65 to 70%, but I feel like 70% is okay for the way this game is. It improved on some things from Part 2, but I feel like it also fell short on some things. There was no DLC in this one. The version I bought, there was no DLC, so I don't know if this game has any DLC out there floating in the sky or floating in other places that I don't know about, but there was no DLC. Part 1 had DLC or expansion pack. Part 2 had DLC, but the version I got, there is no DLC in it. So that's all. So I have come to the end of this video. Tell me what you think. In the franchise, all the games in the franchise, which one is your best? Do you think f.e.a.r 3 is bad, or do you think it is good, or do you think it is just an average action game? Tell me what you think in the comment section below. I would like us to have our own discussion. Let me start working on my next video. You notice that I take time to post videos these days. That's because I want to really take my time to replay those games over and over and over again. Take my time to really digest the game. Even after I've recorded the gameplay, I still go back to replay the game and replay the game so that I will really digest the game, and then I will form my own opinion perfectly. So tell me what you think in the comment section below. Let's have our own discussion. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more videos like this. Share this video, and I will see you in the next video.
Go away.